I'm in the bus because Dan's home and I don't want to vlog with Dan in the room. I think I want this. I want my hair down. I've had it up all day because I got a tattoo today. I am going to insert those pictures of getting my tattoo done and show you what I had done. Okay, so I'll just put them in right here.
Because it was just like...
So yeah, it took 4 hours. Guess it hurt. How did it hurt? Well, it's basically just a whole lot of scratching. It's like having a needle on your scratching, you know, like a cat scratch. The thing of it is, though, it's 4 hours of it. After the first half hour, your body starts going, "Get me away from here!" You know, I think you're crooked. That must be annoying. Oh, not as annoying as this. Oh well, we'll live with it. And it's a little cold in here. I'm in the bus. I got 2 heaters going, and I want to bring it closer. I'll probably regret that if I do. So yeah, after about the first half hour, your body starts to respond to it to try and make you stop doing that to yourself. And what was happening with me is my back muscles were twitching as you put the pins in, but my legs started like this, and I was laying on my side with this arm thrown out, and it turned to icicles. I could not keep these fingers warm. It was like probably a poor circulation because I was laying on it, coupled with, you know, my feet were cold, both hands were cold, and I just kept shivering. And I wasn't cold shivering, I was tension shivering. And I remember from when I had all that pain from the cancer that when the pain got really intense, my legs would shake. So it was kind of like that. And it was this involuntary reaction, and I just kept having to remind, every time he'd pause, I'd like, relax, breathe. And then he'd start it up again, and I'd be like, And at one point, and it's funny because the time actually passed quite fast. I was like, oh my God, it's only been what, maybe 45 minutes and we're going 4 hours. How am I ever going to make it? And just to test, I'm like, and I checked my clock and I'm like, wait a minute, it's already been over 2 hours. So I says, how far are we? And it turned out we were over halfway done. So time was passing faster than it seemed to. Hooray. And this is why I get it all done at once, because there's no way I'm going to go back in the next 5 years to go through that again. I think it's been about 5 years since I got the fish tattoo done. That's a tattoo here on my thigh. I bet I can show you. I've probably shown it on here before, but that doesn't mean that you watching this video have seen it before. Same guy did this one. Woo! She falls over. Same guy did this one, see? And that's a koi turning into a dragon as it reaches the top of the Dragon Falls on the Yellow River in China. It's a legend that if a koi can make it up to the top of these falls, he will turn into a dragon. And it's a symbol of becoming, of maturing, of growing, of succeeding, of reaching, of not being stagnant and not going backwards, but going forwards. And since then, I feel like, see, the sword tattoo, what it's about. When I was going through all that pain and surgery, I remember watching a video on how katanas are made, on the craftsmanship, and I thought, that's what it feels like I've been through. And that's about how long it's lasted, because it takes them 2 years to make one of those. And that's, it was taking that long, and I thought, and I was suddenly getting attention that I had never gotten before. I thought, all my life, I've been that little lump of iron, that stone in the river that's so heavy. And like if you've ever seen a picture of meteorite iron, which is the best iron to start with when making a sword, it's pitted and it's got sharpie bits, and if you were to stub your toe on it, it would hurt quite badly, and you'd probably swear at it. You wouldn't kick it again, but you sure wouldn't like it very much. And it's heavy and it's ugly, so who's going to pick it up? It would sit there, and it would turn rusty, and it would be tired and sad and alone and feeling like I was, until the day the craftsman spots it in the river and says, oh, this is a precious thing that has not been worked yet. And he takes it, and through arduous, painful, constant, see, because the metal gets heated until it's screaming hot, and then it gets pounded and beaten until it's malleable. Then it gets heated again, folded and heated and pounded and folded and heated and pounded. So it's tortured for 2 years. And when it comes out, it's this incredible tool, which is considered to be a tool of peace, as many people who like to have weapons think. And I felt like, and a thing of beauty and craftsmanship, and it's believed to have a soul. And I felt like that's what happened to me. And like the goddess is calling me to become a tool in the hands of a great hero to bring order and justice and peace, to fight a great evil. And the sword does not know against whom it will be wielded. It only knows to be sharp and to be strong, and to, and I came out of the hospital thinking, I am never again going to crumble under somebody. I am strong. No one will ever abuse me or take advantage of me again. I know now my strength. I have my strength. I am sharp. My mind is sharp. My body is strong. I am a sword. And that was when I conceived of this tattoo idea. And so I had to wait. I waited for the chemotherapy, and I waited for the scans. I wasn't going to spend this kind of money because it cost $650. I wasn't going to spend that on my skin only to be put into the grave a year later. So I had to wait until I could be sure that the cancer was truly gone, and that I was like, back to being another person hoping they don't get sick from cancer. And here I am, alive and well and looking forward, moving forward. If you're in Saskatoon, Koi Ink Studio is so totally worth going to. He's very professional. He's very clean. Those important things. He moves quickly, so you don't have to suffer any more time under the needle than it takes to put the ink in your skin. He's very deft. He's been at it for since he was 18 years old, and he's somewhere close to 40. He's got a grown child, so it's you're dealing with an experienced professional. And as you've seen from this tattoo on my leg and the one on my back, he gets really nice lines. I mean, he's not one of those ones that's kind of explaining what's wrong with the tattoo after you're done. Like when I had this one done way back in 1987, the guy who did it, I brought in the design, and the design was a seagull in front of a moon. That's it. Very simple. And the lines were bloop, bloop, fill in the head, fill in the tail, put in a little highlight, and the moon with the white background. Great. It's a beautiful design. I've got a t-shirt with it. I brought it in. I showed him I had it the right size. So he puts it on my arm with the stencil and he starts drawing. First of all, instead of this, he does this. Like he does an outline and fills it in. So he didn't get the X effect that I was after, and he got something quite blobby. And on the ends where you're supposed to see a couple of primary feathers against the sky, he drew these like globby fingers, and he made the wings too thick. I was not happy. But what made it worse is the son of a bitch put a little asterisk next to it. And I looked down and I said, "What's that?" "Oh," he says, "that's my signature." I'm like, oh, and I mean, he was a huge man, and it was too late, so I did not pick a fight with him. That's the asterisk there. But what the hell is he doing signing my creation? He's applying it. He's not making it. He's got no business adding to it. So then the next thing you know, he's like, "Oh, we should put some clouds here and here," and I'm like, and we should put some sky blue fade around the moon, and I'm thinking, anything to help hide that stupid addition he's put in. So I'm like, sure, okay, sure. And this one's actually been fixed up a little bit by the artist who did this. He tried his best to like, he improved the highlights on it and stuff. He made it a little bit less horrible, and it's not as offensive to me as it once was, but it will never look right. So it's really important, if you're going to get a tattoo, that you have to go through the photo album on the coffee table, or ask him for his portfolio. Go through photographs of work he's done. Make sure you like the work he's done. Make sure it's similar to the kind of work you want done. You don't go to somebody who does tribal work asking for a lot of shading. You don't go to someone who does, like, say you want to have your kid's face on your arm. Make sure he's done photographic work before. It's too expensive, and it's there forever. Don't be hasty. Don't ask him how much it costs. It's irrelevant. No, I know money's tight and all that. If you can't afford it, save up and wait. This isn't something you should be cheaping out on, and a good artist is worth what he asks. So don't cheap yourself. Maybe the tattoo shop down the way can do the same tattoo for half price, but I guarantee you're going to have a lesser tattoo. You may have thicker lines. It may take longer to do it. You might get an infection. There's a whole lot of little things that you don't, or the ink might just not go in properly. If it goes in too deep or not deep enough, either way, it's going to come off with the scab, and you're going to have empty spots that you have to go back and have filled in. It's more pain. I mean, you're putting something permanent on your skin that you have to live with, and it hurts like crazy. Don't cheap out. You don't need to ask how much. The only time you need to ask how much is when you're budgeting. Say, can you give me a ballpark idea how much money I have to have saved up before I can get this tattoo? You can do it that way. This guy told me that it could be anywhere between $500 and $800, so I went in there with $800. And he was telling me, he doesn't go on straight hourly basis because sometimes a tattoo is, it takes only so much time, but it's a lot more challenging and annoying, so he wants more. Or it's actually pretty easy and it was fun to do and he enjoyed it, so he wants less. And that's pretty reasonable pricing. He's an artist. He's also running a shop. He's got overhead. He's got materials to buy. There's a lot goes into running that shop that you don't understand. So don't cheap out on your tattoo. If you're going to get a tattoo, don't cheap out. Another thing to do, if you're not sure you want a tattoo, get some colored paints. And if you have no artistic skill whatsoever, get a friend who does to paint you where that tattoo would go, to paint that tattoo on you with paints. Just a temporary tattoo, as it were. Leave it on there for the day. Look at it a lot. Get it done again in another spot. Move it around. Maybe get some henna tattoos and see how that feels. Henna can last a few days. That gives you some time to feel like what it's like to constantly look down and see that on your skin. Or look in the mirror or wherever you're going to see it. I'm never going to see this one. That's the ironic thing. This is a tattoo I'll never see, except in a mirror if I really want to. And it's a tattoo very few other people will see, because how often do I walk around with my shirt off? And yeah, I got to find me some backless shirts. Yep. I was thinking actually just take some old t-shirts and do that slicey dicey thing where you get a whole bunch of gaps so that it's just held together with strings, or even slice it down the middle and then lace it together with a very fine string so that it shows the tattoo in the middle. I might do that. That could be fun. Then I could show off my tattoo once in a while. So I didn't ask, I didn't sit there and go, oh, that's a lot of money. Is there any way I can make it cheaper? You don't do that. Don't insult the guy. If he's good, he's worth it. If he's not worth it, keep looking. It was pretty rough when I first got when I got this tattoo. I was all over town. For 12 years it took me before I could get this tattoo. Primarily because there wasn't anybody in town skilled enough to do that kind of skin. See, the skin from here up it bleeds more. It has much more varying thicknesses. It can be very thin over the bone, very thin here, and then suddenly get fatter here. And the artist has to adjust the pressure that he's using, because they're trying to get it right just under the layer of skin that constantly sheds, but above where the skin ends and the muscle begins. You've got to get it in the skin. So there's a portion of that skin layer. If it's too shallow, it will flake off, and it's too deep, it will bleed out. The blood will come up and flush out the ink, and you'll get an empty spot. And so, if your tattooist says he doesn't do faces or heads or hands, don't sit there thinking it's a moral issue. He probably is saving you a lot of trouble because he knows he doesn't have the skill. And you should probably go find someone with more skill. But if you're just getting a little happy face emoticon on your ankle, pretty much anyone can pull that off. Go for it. No problem. You want a little peace sign on your shoulder? No biggie. But if you want something that's a custom produced thing and you want really fine lines, here, I'll show you another really cool one that I got done that's got very fine lines. When you want a tattoo like that, you don't cheap out. You don't rush it. You've got to be patient. You've got to take your time, and you've got to pay what it's worth. So, can you see that one? See how fine these lines are? And it was important to me that these lines came out very fine. It was very important. I wasn't going to settle for, I didn't want rounded lines. I didn't want fat crayon lines. I wanted it to look like calligraphy with a brush calligraphy. That was the effect I was after. And the same thing goes with this one. Whereas this one here was not as important. But it was important because it was on my head, and it was important because I was using extremely easy to fade inks. Reds and greens are the least secure colors you can use, and so they had to be put in the right amount of ink. I've also got a tattoo on this foot, which I'm unhappy with. I mean, I kind of expected the gray web lines to fade, but the spider that he did is way too big and way too blurry. The legs are too thick and fat. The guy did not do a good job. And if I could go back in time, I'd get someone like this guy down at Koi Ink to do it. But, you know, I remember sitting there and they turned up the Black Sabbath, or it was heavy metal music, I don't know what. I never liked heavy metal music, so I wasn't too thrilled that they had it blasting ear-piercingly loud. But curiously enough, I was actually able to ride the pain with it, so that was kind of cool. And I had this one done at the same time. That's the same snake that's on my head, but in this case he's holding his tail. That's a really common theme, is to do a circlet with the snail biting its, or the snake biting his tail. And this one here, I remember wincing at the pain because it was my first tattoo, and it hurt. It was like he was drawing little lines of fire on my arm, and I'm like that, right? And he's like, "Oh, come on, you're not even bleeding yet. It can't hurt that much." You know, to a tender little 23-year-old girl, or whatever I was. 1987, I would have been 24. Yeah, that's right, I was 24. I was just starting university and I got it done. And I'm like, I'm still mad at that guy. What a jerk. So take your time with tattoos. Don't screw it up. And aftercare, not much really. I was supposed to leave the saran wrap on until tonight, but unfortunately I sweated riding my bike back, and the tape let go and the saran wrap just came right off. So that's all right, you know. I'm not exposed. I'm keeping it covered in a freshly laundered cotton, so it's not going to catch an infection from my shirt. And then I'm supposed to shower off all the extra ink and stuff tonight. And then in the morning I can start putting salves or whatever I want on there to help it heal faster. I like to put cocoa butter and shea butter. I make a salve with cocoa butter, shea butter, olive oil, and a few drops of argan oil. Sometimes I throw in tea tree oil, but it's kind of smelly, so only if I'm worried about infection. If I'm trying to cure an infection, I'll throw that in. And I make this salve, and it's perfect. It keeps the scabs from getting hard, so that they don't pull prematurely and I don't get as much itch. It keeps the itch at bay, and it prevents the skin from flaking. Anything you can do with a tattoo in the aftercare that prevents it from flaking and scabbing and picking and itching is going to make the inks last longer. Like if you have a scab on a tattoo and you yank it off because it itches, it may well pull the ink right out of the skin. So something that keeps the scab soft and the skin moisturized is very wise, but it's very important. You've got a hole in your skin. It's very important that it be antiseptic. If you introduce bacteria, that too will ruin your tattoo, as well as potentially giving you a nasty scar and a whole lot of pain and misery. And, you know, infections in the modern day rarely go very far, but it is possible to give yourself some serious diseases and even kill yourself. In the old days, before they understood antiseptic and they understood antibiotics, and they understood how to detoxify wounds and how to keep wounds clean, people used to die from a cut on the finger. You know, it would start with a little cut on the finger, but then the finger turned red and swollen and purple, and then it would turn black, and the hand was red and swollen, and then the hand turned purple, and the arm swelled up, and then all of a sudden all the veins in your body would turn black, and you'd die of septicemia. Or if you were very lucky, someone got to you in time and chopped off your arm. It could be that bad. And someone who is extremely careless with a tattoo could actually cause themselves that kind of grief. So aftercare is important, not just for the life of your tattoo, but for your life. And I'm going to cut this off now because that's pretty much everything I could possibly think about talking about right now. It's all about the tattoo. I haven't done a damn thing in the bus. I'll show you around the bus. I'll give you a quick peek. So we've got infrared heater, propane heater. That's what's making it warm in here. Coffee that I should have been drinking and forgot all about. And That's been getting sanded. These have been getting sanded. You can actually see the sanding marks if I come up real close. This needs to get sanded, and then when these things are properly sanded, I'll come out here and I'll fire up the wood stove over there, and I'll put some primer on them and start painting those things. Dan's been studying up on how to put the electrical panel in, so with any luck he'll do it and I won't have to. I can't keep it from freezing overnight. I suppose if I left the electric heater on 24/7, but I'm not spending that on electricity. And I can't leave the propane heater 24/7 either. But it's warm enough in here, it'll stay warm for a while. It might even be melting the snow off the roof. And the interesting thing is the snow only melts at the ribs, indicating that the insulation between them is actually working quite well. Let's see how much cold. See, it's not cold here, but it's icy on these ribs because they're a direct metal contact to the outside. Okay, see you tomorrow.